evidence-based strategies and questions that might help to improve your mental well-being and to increase your awareness. We are also discussing in these sessions how your brain works and what you can do in order to help yourself with uh, if you are having experiencing any challenges related with mental health. So today we will be discussing about change and about behavioral patterns that keep repeating and what you can do in order to help yourself if you want to change this. Many people have experienced something like this in life. We make decisions, we take an action, and after some time we realize that we have arrived at the same outcome again. And maybe we are experiencing similar problems in relationships, in our career, in our studies, and you might hear yourself saying, I've been here before, and how did I end up here again? And experience is actually very common in human psychology. Many people repeat certain behavioral patterns throughout their lives, and often people interpret this situation as a very simple way, and they say, maybe I just can't change. However, this is not true. The learned patterns can be relearned again, and brain's neuroplasticity is always active. And once you become aware of these patterns, once you notice these thoughts and feelings and whatever is causing you to act in that way, it's always possible to change by using psychotherapy, by increasing your awareness. And psychological research shows something different, that repeating the same mistake over and over again is usually not a lack of willpower. It's often the result of behavioral cycles, learned patterns, and habit mechanisms. And today we will explore exactly how the process works and what you can do in order to help yourself if you want to change these behavioral patterns. So why do people sometimes repeat the same mistakes, and more importantly, how this behavioral cycle form? Human behavior is rarely random, and many behaviors follow a three-step cycle that includes trigger, behavior, and outcome. A trigger might appear, it might be a feeling, a thought, or an experience, environment, or situation. And then the person performs a behavior. So maybe you learned this behavior in your childhood in order to save yourself, or to be successful. And oftentimes people repeat these behaviors not being aware about the outcome, how it's impacting them. And if the consequences of the behavior provide a short-term relief, the brain learns that behavior, and this is why certain patterns keep repeating. And many of our behavior patterns develop during childhood and adolescence, and people learn how the world works through experiences. For instance, someone might grow up hearing messages like, taking risks is dangerous, if you make mistakes, you will be criticized, you must be perfect to succeed. And imagine when they grow up, a person will take less risks, and they will try to do everything in order not to be criticized, or they will be overworking, overstudying, or overdoing in order to please people and not to hear these critiques or whatever was causing them pain during the childhood. However, as I said, it's always possible to change, and the first step towards change is noticing these patterns that are impacting your behavior. So this can also be related with the beliefs, like core beliefs that you have in your childhood, and these beliefs can influence behavior for many years. And when a behavior is repeated enough times, it becomes a habit, and therefore it gets more challenging to break the cycle and change the habit. But these operate without conscious thinking. Habits are operating without conscious thinking, and this is why people sometimes find themselves repeating the same patterns in their life, and the same relationship dynamics might appear, and the same decision making might happen. The same avoidance behaviors might occur, and these patterns often operate automatically. And human mind tends to interpret familiar situations as safer. For instance, even if those patterns are not helpful, sometimes your mind might be sending a simple message that this is familiar, therefore it's safe. And so deciding which behaviors you would like to perform instead, how you would like to respond to emotions and thoughts that are triggering your behavior, can be the first step towards starting the change. So also understanding triggers, what is triggering you, which thoughts and emotions are making you uncomfortable. For instance, if you notice certain behavioral patterns, try to notice, pay attention to thoughts and feelings that are accompanied with the behavior or that you have just before that behavior. And once you become aware of these feelings and thoughts, it will be easier to take steps towards change and to learn to respond differently. And also thinking about the change, what would you like to be different as a result of uh, learning to respond differently? What change it can create in your life and in other people's life, and what would be the result of this change in the long term? And therefore, suppose, for instance, you have already started to change. What would be the first sign that you are changing, that you are responding differently? And also, there are always exceptions. First, deciding what kind of change you want to see, and then thinking and seeking for possible exceptions in the past. Where exactly you have achieved already this outcome. For instance, when you were angry, where you were able to stay peaceful, to stay calm, and what helped you to stay calm during those moments. Or if you are constantly anxious and if you start to avoid certain things or you procrastinate, what were times when this didn't happen or was less, when you had less anxiety, when we're able to stay calm and to take action despite anxiety? And what was different during those moments about your mood, about your environment, the people around you? What exactly helped you to achieve this outcome? And these moments are not accidents, there are clues. And which features, which characteristics, what was there about you that helped you to make that happen? And once we become aware of our resources, we can use these resources again to repeat the same outcome again. And what was the very first small sign that this time was different? What did you do? What did you do, even slightly, that helped you to shift the outcome, to approach the outcome in the past? So, and maybe there were also some other situations. Where else did you see this outcome? Where else could you stay peaceful? Where else were you successful? And what do these moments have in common? Answering to these questions will help you to find resources and capabilities, features that you might use in future to get closer to your goals and the version of you that you want to become. And what does it say about your ability to influence this situation? Uh, Remembering about those moments would help you to feel more capable and to believe in yourself. Because if you are able to do it once, you can repeat this again, and this would remind you about your strengths that you have forgotten, maybe. And that capable, that successful, calm version of you is still there, but just maybe you forgot about your capabilities. And asking yourself these questions can help to remember those moments and to make it more likely to happen again. And for instance, if that less intense version happened again, what would you want to repeat on purpose? What would be the smallest sign tomorrow that you are moving in that direction again? And what exactly helped you to achieve this sense of calmness or success or less anxiety? Was that persistence? Was that your belief, self-awareness, sensitivity, caution, intelligence, or maybe your ability to connect with other people, to search for resources, your hope, And the same traits that created that pattern often contain the tools to change it. So think about the next time that pattern might show up, and what is one slightly different thing you could do. And change doesn't happen overnight, but it happens with taking small steps, small intentional steps every day. So what might help you? What might help you to achieve the same calmness, the same success, the same sense of your desired outcome, whatever you are trying to achieve? Maybe it was pausing for 10 seconds, not reacting immediately. Maybe it was asking opinion of other people or researching or choosing a slightly different response, noticing the trigger instead of reacting immediately. So these small changes are powerful because they are repeatable, and if you have done it once, you can do this the same patterns again. And how have you managed to keep going even while this pattern has been repeating? And this answers to these questions would help you to find out that you are already more resilient than the problem. And uh, for instance, you have said that I've been here before. This already tells about your increased self-awareness, about your willingness to change and to reflect on your own behavior. And you may have been in similar situations, in similar challenges before, but you are not the same person each time you arrive there, and awareness changes the system. And right now, you are not just inside the cycle, you are the one who is observing the cycle, and you are the person who wants to change, to create change. And suppose if this sense of more control started to become real, and you noticed more capable, more confident, more calm version of you, more capable version of you. If that version of you have already started to show up more often, what would be the first sign that you are approaching that version? How would you know that this version is there? What would you do differently? How would you perceive situations, challenges? How would you connect to people differently? What would let you know that that version of you is already there? And how would your self-awareness show up differently in the moment that pattern begins? What would you notice early before the pattern repeats that would help you to respond differently? So if you brought your caution, for instance, or being ability to stay calm or to stay resilient as a tool, and if you could use it, how would it guide you next steps when you are trying to overcome the challenges, barriers? And what would controlled behavior actually look like on the outside? Would you be slower in your responses, using fewer words, using different tone? And if someone were watching you in that moment, what would they say you are doing differently? So if you could replay that moment, what part of you made that possible? Which version of you was there? Was it a patient, believing version, hopeful version? And if this version that helped you to achieve that outcome was already here present, how might this version of you can help you to achieve the outcome and the change you are trying to see? And we have mentioned about qualities such as persistence, intelligence, sensitivity, or any other qualities that you have noted for yourself while you were answering these questions. So how can these qualities help you to stay in the pause instead of slipping back into the pattern? How can your intelligence or awareness, persistence help you recognize the pattern fast? And how can your sensitivity, for instance, help you detect emotional triggers earlier? And imagine a day where your desired outcome is already happening. What would be slightly better one? Where would be the first moment you might practice this new version of yourself, and what will you do that is slightly different? And if you had to summarize your new pattern in one sentence, so we are speaking about old patterns that you used to have, for instance, Maybe you were avoiding studying or working when you were anxious. So, what would be different in that new pattern in one sentence? For instance, maybe you would notice anxiety, maybe you would notice challenging thoughts, and what would you like to choose? What would you do differently? And what would remind you to use it when the moment comes? So, I've tried to discuss strategies and questions that might help you to break the cycle that you were using and to break the repeating patterns and to create change and new patterns. And I tried to help to increase your awareness about what kind of change you want to see. I hope this was helpful for you, and if you have any questions, please welcome. Don't hesitate to leave it in the comments, and don't forget to share this information with people whom you think might benefit. See you in the next sessions.